Breaking news coming out of the Middle East this morning. We now have Iran's supreme leader saying Iran cannot be forced into surrender. This is in response to President Trump's call for Iran's, quote, unconditional surrender in its conflict with Israel. Multiple administration officials say he is considering a range of options for U.S. involvement, meeting with his national security team for over an hour in the Situation Room yesterday.
So, Savannah, President Trump also threatening Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei, writing that we know exactly where he is hiding. Trump's words adding, we are not going to take him out, at least for now. This coming as Israeli missiles continuing to find military targets in Tehran. The IDF says it's destroyed fighter jets, missile launchers, and sites related to Iran's nuclear program. In response, Iran has launched new missile barrages against Israel overnight as the two sides now enter a sixth day of conflict. We have senior fellow at the Middle East Institute, Alex Vitanka, standing by with analysis on the volatile situation, along with White House correspondent Monica Alba with the very latest on the Trump administration's movements here. But we begin in Israel, where international correspondent Matt Bradley has been obviously following all the developments on the ground. Matt, good morning. You know, we saw more of a volley of missiles overnight. Let's start where you are in Israel. Iran's new army chief saying yesterday that the strikes conducted on Israel so far have been a deterrent warning, vowing that, quote, punitive action will be carried out soon. But has Iran so far been able to land any significant blows here?
No, not really. Not in the last couple of days. They have been before, and that's what we're seeing. It's been at least 36 hours, and I got to nail down that statistic for you, since we've seen an actual fatality here in Israel. It's almost been that long, or about that long, since we've seen a real injury coming from any of these Iranian missile attacks. Now, remember, in the opening days, we saw the death toll rise and then rise and then rise again with each subsequent night of Iranian reprisal attacks against the Israelis. Here in Tel Aviv and throughout the country, civilians being killed. That is not happening anymore and hasn't been happening for much of the past 2 days. And this is because, according to the Israelis, it sounds as though they have managed to maintain, and we keep hearing this from the Israelis every time we speak to them, they now enjoy complete air superiority over Tehran in the western part of Iran. That means that they are able to do things like what you just described, and we heard this from the IDF spokesperson just today, that they were able to do another series of strikes on Tehran, an extensive operation that involved more than 50 fighter jets, and it lasted for 3 hours with 3 waves of strikes. And so when we're talking about this, it's easy to just say it, but you have to imagine here, this is something that in many ways the IDF, the Israeli military, wasn't anticipating, that they would be able to take and hold air superiority over Iranian airspace for this long. They're essentially putting their jets over Tehran, over Iran, and leaving them there unmolested for hours at a time. And that's one of the reasons why we're seeing such a lopsided fight, at least over the past 48 hours.
Matt, in Iran, we are seeing footage of just this traffic gridlock as thousands of people flee Tehran. We're also hearing from an on-the-ground source that a cybersecurity breach is affecting the city. Tell us more about what this is like just for civilians on the ground in Iran.
Yeah, I mean, the Iranians announced this, too, that they had launched this cyber attack. They're no longer able to get cash out of cash machines. So the situation has now become a multi-pronged attack. We saw basically the Israelis were first striking anti-air, then striking nuclear targets, then striking economic targets like gas fields and oil fields. Now this cyber attack is just yet another blow on top of many against the Iranian regime. You know, it's unclear exactly, given the decisive nature of this battle on the Israeli side, what the plan is for day 2, whether or not there's any effort to try to move this from a military operation to a political one. And this is something that we've been seeing when you go all around Israel, all of the conflicts and theaters in which it's engaged. We're seeing unequivocal military superiority by the Israelis. Huge loss of civilian lives in many cases, and no real plan for the day after.
Air dominance, as you described it, Matt, as we were just looking at those images of all the people trying to escape Tehran right now, with just the level of uncertainty in the region. I mean, it's incredible just to see the extent of chaos on the roads. Israeli missiles are continuing to damage and destroy key targets in Tehran. You were outlining that. Israel's military says that they've killed several top military commanders, 10 nuclear scientists. What other targets have they hit in the last 24 hours?
Well, as you mentioned, just that cyber attack. And now we're talking about actually the IDF just announced that they were striking helicopters, attack helicopters that they've disabled on their platforms while they were on the ground. They've been hitting anti-air defenses, and this has been from the beginning. So it hasn't just been nuclear targets. One of the reasons why they were able to achieve air superiority is because they essentially totally disabled Iran's anti-air capabilities in the very early hours. So that's not news. That happened on Friday morning. It's been continuing to happen. And the other thing that they've been doing, and we've been hearing this from the IDF, is something they're calling missile hunting, which it means that they're just going around, again, exploiting their superiority over the ground and hunting missiles using what they've said is real-time intelligence. And that's another buzzword we keep hearing from the Israelis. Real-time intelligence, as opposed to intelligence they gathered in the years and decades ahead of this huge operation. Now, because they're able to have what they are saying are eyes in the sky, they're able to reinform themselves and adjust basically in real time.
All right, Matt Bradley, thank you very much for reporting.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.